Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanic. And if you enjoy this fanic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanic like this. And now let's start the fanic.
A young boy was running through the streets as far and hard as his little legs could. His torn cloths flapped as the boy ran. His untamable spiky blonde hair flowed with the wind. His breath was heavy, his bright blue eyes filled with tears flowing down his face, and the boy's cheeks held whisker-like birthmarks, 3 on each cheek. This young boy looked no older than 6 years, was running for his life. As the boy ran down the streets, alleys, and anywhere he could just to live and see the next day. A mob was the cause of all this. The mob was not huge nor was it small. The known mob was looked to be made from simple village folk of this village, Konoha, that wielded all sorts of objects in their hands, from sticks to pipes to dough rollers to bats. "Look, there is that demon spawn, down that alley," yelled one of the villagers as he pointed towards the way with his pipe. The young blonde boy looked in fear as he ran even more down the alley. He has been running for a while. These villagers won't quit. I hope I can make it, thought the young blonde. He now ran out of the alleys and now was heading through the park. He looked back as he saw that no one was now following him. The young boy found a spot next to a bush as he caught his breath. It's the same every year, every day, but today, they looked like they wanted to kill me. Why is that I am treated like this? Why am I called a curse, a monster, a demon? The young boy's train of thought was broken when he heard a woman yell, "There he is." The blonde boy quickly turned to run when he collided into something. He fell to his little bottom and looked up. There he saw a man, a leaf ninja. The man was looking down at him. He had a smile on his face and said, "Don't worry, I'm here to help." The blonde was taken back by his words. Dozens of thoughts ran through his simple young mind. Is really going to help? Is he one of those few people who will treat me as a person? The boy was about to speak when suddenly he saw the man's smile again. The boy looked at the smile, as it turned from happiness to a completely different look from what it was seconds ago. The now smile was very different and gave a murderous feeling, and his eyes, they gave an ice-cold glare towards the young boy. As the boy looked into the man's eyes, he could feel the feelings the man had. There were only two, but the two were very powerful feelings. Anger and hatred, that was what the leaf nin's eyes held. Finally, out of nowhere, the leaf nin's foot collided with the poor blonde's body, which sent him a great amount of pain. "Did you really think I would help someone you?" The leaf shinobi scoffed and continued, "The day I help you is the day hell freezes over." The young blonde was grasping his stomach, which held the most pain. He coughed up a little blood while he listened to the man's rant. Suddenly the leaf ninja pulled out a kunai. The blonde saw the kunai and tried to run the other way. When he did, he once again collided into something and fell back. The boy looked up and his eyes widened. There was a man with a bat, and behind the man was the mob. The man which the boy ran into looked down to the blonde and evilly smirked while tapping his bat into his left palm. "Now you shall pay for your sins, demon brat," yelled the man with the bat. The mob drew closer to the blonde. "Get ready to feel the pain we felt every night thinking of the ones you killed," yelled a woman as the mob drew even closer and started to surround the blonde. The blonde turned around, preparing himself to run until he saw the leaf ninja twirling his kunai around his index finger, but that wasn't the only thing that stopped the blonde. On the leaf nin's sides were 2 more leaf ninjas which looked as if they'd wanted the boy's life. The middle shinobi laughed. "Nowhere to run, demon." The blonde froze as he now realized he was surrounded by the angry mob. "Welcome to hell, demon monster," yelled a random villager as the man threw a rock at the boy. The rock connected with his forehead, which now left a cut dripping blood down his face. The blonde flinched and fell to the ground. "Ah," was all the boy said until one of the leaf ninjas kicked his stomach. The blonde fell to his side as pain was going through his stomach. He coughed up some blood and looked up to see the mob was closing in. The blonde was about to get up and try to make a break for it, but sadly a man whacked his back with a lead pipe. Demon crap. Stay down, said the villager who whacked the boy. The young blonde gave a small yelp as he fell back to the ground. Finally the mob started the attack. The small blonde was kicked and hit everywhere by sticks, pipes, stones, kicks, punches, and bats. During the beating, the blonde curled into a ball and covering his tiny head as he took all the pain while many villagers cursed him and many questions ran through his mind at the same time. Take this, demon brat, yelled an enraged man as he beat the child with a stick. Am I really a demon? Thought helpless blonde. Evil hell spawn, yelled a woman. It makes no sense. What have I done? Again the boy asked himself. Now do you feel all the pain you caused us to have? The shinobi with the kunai said as he slowly drew closer to the young boy. Have I really caused this much pain to these people, but how? I am just a 6-year-old child. The blonde was now starting to black out. As his vision faded he heard all the insults of the mob. Die demon. See you in hell bastard. Monster. Monster. That is what you are. A monster. You took our family for and now we'll kill you in exchange. Those were some of the things the young one heard. His vision still faded and everything was getting fuzzy. He saw the shinobi with the kunai twirling around his index finger slowly approach him. The leaf nin stopped halfway and smirked as he said, now this is the end, Kyubi. The blonde heard that and saw him through the kunai at him. Everything slowed down as he thought one last thing before blacking out. Kyubi. Why did he call me Kyubi? Like it matters. Goodbye old man, I am a burden to you and to the village no more. Finally with his goodbye the boy now known as Naruto blacked out. Unknown area. Naruto, now laying down on his back slowly opened his eyes only to see nothing but a light shining down on him. Naruto laughed as he talked to himself. So this is what happens when you die. Boring. Naruto slowly stood up as he looked to his left and to his right. Kuso. Nothing. I guess there really isn't a giant bowl of infinite Ichiraku ramen. Damn, I guess I should apologize to Hokage Gigi-san for yell. Naruto suddenly stopped mid-sentence and started to cry. Ogigi-san. Ichiraku Gigi-san. Ayame-chan. I'll never see them again. Naruto was now sitting with his knees to his chest and hugging them as he continued to cry until he heard his whisper. Naruto. The whisper was soft and a little creepy. Naruto looked to both of his sides quickly. Naruto. The whisper continued but was a little louder this time. WWW, who's there? Naruto replied as he was slowly getting scared. Naruto. The mysterious voice continued and ended with a low laugh. If this is a joke, it's not funny. Naruto was now standing up and preparing to run. Naruto. I'm coming for you. The voice echoed and at that point Naruto sped right off in any direction. Leave me alone. Naruto cried out as he ran with his eyes shut. Why? The voice asked back. 'Cause you're scaring me. Oof. At that point Naruto ran full speed into something. It felt like a fence. Ah damn it, even in death I feel pain. What? The dead are going to beat me too. Naruto said out loud as he rubbed the side of his skull. Naruto suddenly heard laughter, only this time it was coming from in front of him. What? He asked himself. In front of him was a giant cage and on the bars was a piece of paper with the words, seal, on it. Naruto stood up and looked at the seal for a couple of seconds and asked himself, what in the hell is this? He had a confused look until he walked up to the bars and grabbed a hold of a bar in each hand, then looked closely into the cage. Boo! A giant red-orange fox's face with an evil grin appeared in front of his face and sacred the holy shit out of the poor 6-year-old. Naruto fell to his butt and looked back at the fox with pure fear in his eyes. Naruto was frozen in his spot as wanted to scream but was unable to move anything. The fox noticed this and decided to slowly move its claws towards Naruto. Through Naruto's eyes, as the claws drew closer, he started crying and curled into a ball and screamed to the fox, "Leave me alone. I haven't done anything wrong. Sure, I pulled a couple of pranks, but it was for the attention. Please, I haven't got anything. Don't hurt me." Naruto was now in a full-blown tear fest. He let out everything in the tears, all the pain he had, the lonely feeling, the anger, sorrow, and the empty feeling he had. As Naruto cried, the claw stopped and went back into the shadows, and out of the shadow came a giant fox slowly walking towards the crying boy. As it got closer, red flames quickly engulfed the fox for a couple of seconds, and when the flames disappeared, there stood a beautiful woman. The woman had long red-orange hair which looked silky smooth all the way down to her waist. Her eyes were light red that glowed with the intensity of a flame. She wore a white kimono which had falling sakura leaves design on it, and even though she wore the kimono, you could tell she had a very beautiful, slender, and sexy body. The woman finally reached Naruto and noticed that he was still crying. The woman had a look of regret on her face. She crouched down, stuck her hand out, and touched the boy's hair, lightly stroked it, and said, "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I guess I got carried away." Naruto instantly stopped crying and slowly looked up. Naruto looked up and gasped. "Be beautiful," he suddenly blurted out and blushed pink from embarrassment. The woman stopped stroking him and smiled as she took her arm back into the cage. "Why, thank you, Naruto-kun." He blushed a deeper shade of pink because he never expected the woman to thank him. Huh, why is she being nice to me? Isn't she going to run or scream or something? Wait, what is a nice woman like her doing here? Naruto thought. The woman giggled. "Why wouldn't I be nice to you, Naruto-kun, and why would I run away from a sweet person as yourself?" Naruto looked back at her confused. "What? How did you do? Who are you? Are you Kami?" Naruto asked the woman before him. The woman giggled. She got on her knees and gave Naruto a quick stroke on his head and began to explain things. "Hello, Naruto-kun. I guess you want some answers now, huh?" The woman asked. Naruto nodded quietly. "Well, for starters, I guess I'll tell you where we are. This may sound crazy, but we are in your mind," the woman explained as Naruto just looked at her. "Okay. Wait. What?" Naruto's expressions changed from unmoving to thinking to a full-blown donkey face, confused. The woman laughed out loud at Naruto's antics. "Yes, Naruto-kun, it is very shocking. We are in your mind, or as how I call it, Naruto's mindscape," the woman said in a cheery voice. Naruto just looked back at her with slight confusion. "Okay then. Who are you and why are you here?" Naruto asked the woman back. When the woman heard the last question, she tensed up. Luckily, Naruto did not notice her reaction. "Oh boy, how am I going to explain this? I am a demon queen, shit. Well, I'm still not married, nor have I even made any actual attempt to even find a mate. Damn it, I haven't had my first kiss yet. What in the 9 levels of hell?" As the so-called demon queen continued her inner rant, she was oblivious of the young blonde lad trying to get her attention. "Excuse me, miss," Naruto quietly called out to the demon queen. No answer. "Excuse me," he continued with unsuccess. Naruto was now a little annoyed at the woman. "Oi baka." Naruto was now just plain frustrated. He scratched his head trying to think of a way to get the woman out of her deep thought. Naruto suddenly perked up and remembered something old man Hokage told him some time ago. Flashback. Naruto and the Hokage were sitting outside of the Ichiraku ramen stand. A 5-year-old Naruto happily ate his 9th bowl of ramen while enjoying a little life talk. "Now, Naruto, what you said to my secretary was not a very nice thing to do," the Hokage stated to the young ramen eating machine. "Why? She was being mean to me." The lady asked if I wanted something to eat. Of course I accepted cause free food, right? Anyway, right after my answer she told me to shut up and also said that a bastard, whatever that means, like me doesn't deserve food. As Naruto finished his short story, he continued to devour his now 11th bowl. The Hokage looked at the young boy as he thought to himself, why do these people treat the poor child like this? What has he done? He is only 5 and so pure even with all the hate sent towards him. Sarutobi sighed. Naruto, even if she did do that, you should show her respect, and I'm sure calling a woman an old fart bag is not a form of respect. Naruto looked back at the Hokage. Why? He asked. Sarutobi smiled. Because women are stronger than men. But all the best shinobi in the world that I know are men and they have really great ninjutsus and taijutsus. Naruto debated. Ah, but Naruto, that may be true, but in life women goes through more obstacles than males. Sarutobi countered Naruto's sentence. Like what? The young blonde asked curiously. Easy, childbirth is one of the obvious and most common thought of. Quote. He paused for a quick 3 seconds. You do know where babies come from, right? Naruto looked back at him. Part. I know the women gives birth, but I don't know how. Can you tell me? Sarutobi started to sweat a little, then answered back. I do, but I'll tell you that later. Anyway, since women go through extreme pain with birth, you should show them respect. But if you need to get attention of a woman, calling her old will help. Be warned, if you do, Naruto, be prepared to feel the wrath of something even more terrifying than the Kyuubi. The wrath of a woman was called old. Sarutobi finished. Okay, I get it, old man, sheesh. Women are special, so treat them well. Naruto stated and began eating one last bowl. Good. The Hokage was about to dig in his ramen when he noticed something was missing, his bowl of ramen. He turned to the blonde. Oi, you ate my ramen. Naruto flashed his foxy grin. Well, you took so long and it was getting cold, so. Sarutobi growled. What did I just tell you about respect? Naruto grinned. You told me to respect women, old man. Sarutobi just sighed. End flashback. Naruto took a deep breath, preparing him for the wrath of a woman. Oba-chan. I'm waiting for an answer. The woman snapped out of her inner rant and looked at the blonde with fire in her eyes. Literally, did you just call me a Graham? She was cut off, but Naruto, who continuously bowed in respect while saying, Ashikarazu with each bow. Gomenasai, you were spacing out for a while and I still have some questions. I'm sorry, Naruto bowed at the end. The woman looked back at the blonde with much surprise. Well, that was unexpected. Wait, no, it wasn't. He must have remembered that talk with the Hokage. I must have missed the flashback while deep in though about my love life. Damn, I need to find a suitable husband. The woman finally took notice of our blonde hero again. So, where was I? Oh yeah, we are in your mindscape. Naruto looked back at her sternly. Arigato, already know that. Could you please tell me who you are and why you are here? The woman sighed again. Naruto-kun, do you know the story of how the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune attacked your village 6 years ago? The woman asked. Of course I do. It was killed by the Yondaime, but in the process the Yondaime was killed shortly after the battle. Everyone knows the story. Naruto answered back. The woman wasn't surprised when she heard that version of the story. Well, part of it was right, Naruto-kun. The blonde was confused from her answer. I don't get it. What do you mean by that version and how is this related to anything? The woman had a serious face as she looked back at Naruto. This story is important to this situation as the Hokage is to Konoha. Naruto's eyes widened but stayed silent. The woman smiled. Naruto-kun, the shortened version of the real story is. While the Kyuubi was attacking the village, the Yondaime appeared. They fought for a short while until the Yondaime suddenly made some seals and a Shikigami appeared. The Yondaime made a deal with the Shikigami. He exchanged his very own life to seal the Kyuubi. The Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi into an infant child. Now 6 years later, the holder of the Kyuubi stands before me. Yes, Naruto-kun, you are the child that was used for the sealing. Finally, before you ask. No, you are not the demon, you are just the container, no matter what anyone says. Naruto-kun. Motionless, that's what Naruto was for a couple of minutes until he asked. BB, but that if all that is true, don't I know anything about it, and how do you know all this? Who are you? My name is Kyuubi, Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kyuubi stood there watching Naruto nervously, waiting for a reaction from him. And Naruto-kun, are you all right? Naruto just stood there in deep thought. Kyuubi decided not to pry into Naruto's business. So the story that I was told was a lie. Hokage Gigi-chan lied to me. My very own hero, the very person I wished to be like, was part of the cause of my pain. And this person, this nice lady, is the Kyuubi. What the hell is happening? Everything is mixed up. Finally Naruto snapped out of his deep thought and looked back at the Kyuubi. Kyuubi-san. He looked at her in the eyes. Why? Why did you attack the village? Kyuubi wasn't surprised that he wanted some answers. After being hated for an unknown reason since you could remember and suddenly meeting the reason face to face is some hell of shock. Kyuubi sighed before answering. Come in Naruto-kun. I'll tell you everything from the beginning. Naruto looked back at her as if she was crazy. Anu. I think I'll take my chances here on this side of the cage. Kyuubi was confused about why he wouldn't at least come in. Then it hit her. She just told him she is the Kyuubi no Kitsune. It was understandable that he felt uneasy about going into a cage with someone like her. I understand Naruto-kun. You can stay there if you want. Although remember this, I am trapped in you by a special seal, therefore if you die I die. Even if I wanted to kill you I couldn't. She finished while closing her eyes and taking some deep breaths. When Kyuubi opened her eyes, she was surprised to see Naruto on the same side of the cage with her. Nani? I thought you didn't trust me Naruto-kun. He walked up to her and bowed. I'm sorry, Kyuubi-san. I don't know much about seals or anything, but I am will to trust you. He ended with a smile. Kyuubi was surprised that he was already willing to trust her. Arigato Naruto-kun, but there is no need for apologizes. It is understandable because I am sure that meeting the demon princess of the 9 levels of hell is not an everyday thing. Princess. I thought you were demon lord or something. Naruto added. I'll explain that with the rest Naruto-kun. Let up go then. Naruto nodded as a sign of acceptance. The two figures walked for a short while until Kyuubi stopped. Well, this seems far enough. Naruto was confused. It looked the same as everywhere else except the cage was farther. Anyo, Kyuubi-san, I don't see anything different around here except the cage bars are farther from here. Kyuubi grinned. Naruto-kun, I already told you that we are in your mind, right? Naruto nodded. So since we are in your mind, you have full control of this entire place. I don't get it. Naruto replied. Okay, try this then. Concentrate and think of a toy ball. Naruto nodded, closed his eyes and did what he was told. Instantly a red bouncing ball appeared in front of Naruto. Cool, Kyuubi-san, said Naruto as he bounced the ball until he hit himself on the head. Very good Naruto. Now to make the object disappear, just think of it disappearing and it will. Kyuubi smiled as she his antics with the ball. Suddenly Naruto stopped. If I can make anything appear then I can have free ramen then, right? Kyuubi giggled a little. Sorry Naruto-kun. You are only half right. True that you can have free ramen but it will not fill you up nor will it have any taste. Naruto's face turned into a sad one but quickly dismissed it as soon as he remembered why he was following Kyuubi. So, what do you want me to do with this ability? Well, since you can make almost anything, why don't me a nice cage with a great scenery? Hi Kyuubi-san. I got just the scenery in mind. He quickly concentrated an image from his head. Suddenly the whole cage area transformed into a beautiful park area. There was a lake that held a pure blue color. Many fishes in the lake could be seen. Even if the fishes were fake, they helped make the lake look lively. The sky was clear and sunny with a couple of clouds in there. The land was covered with soft green grass all over like a blanket. A couple of fully bloomed sakura trees were placed all over. A breeze could be felt as it blew some of the sakura leaves across to enhance beauty of the scenery. And finally at the area that Naruto and Kyuubi were standing was a being shaded by a sakura tree with a blanket laid where they stood. Naruto looked at the now beautiful park as he turned to Kyuubi. Just like I pictured it to be. Kyuubi was speechless. She couldn't believe a child could think of something as beautiful as the park before her. And Naruto-kun, this place beautiful. Where on earth did you find a place like this? Naruto gave her a foxy grin. I didn't. I thought of a place that I would want to share with the ones I care about. It was simple as that. Well, Naruto-kun, for a child of 6 you sure are romantic, huh? Kyuubi smiled at him. Just wait till you grow up. You sure will be a heartbreaker. What do you mean, Kyuubi-san? Naruto looked at her with a clueless expression. Kyuubi just giggled. I'll tell you when you're a little older, although I'm pretty sure you'll find out yourself. She took a seat in a very formal form. You know the position. Legs curled under body as the person sits on their knees to their toes. Naruto followed except for the fact he just sat with his legs crossed. Alright Naruto, listen up, this may take a while, Kyuubi sighed. As you know, I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the so-called Lord of the 9 Levels Hell, correct? Naruto just nodded. Well, the truth is, I am not the true lord, nor am I the strongest. Naruto's eyes widened. Kyuubi-san, if you are not the strongest, then who is? Naruto asked. Kyuubi smiled as she expected that kind of reaction. My father, Aki-1 no Kitsune, is the strongest of all the demons. He is the current Lord of Hell. I, Kyuubi no Kitsune, is his oldest kid, therefore I am the heiress of Hell. That makes me a demon princess. Also, I have a little sister named Kuri. Naruto was fully interested in finding out more. Anyo, why is that you are known as the Demon Lord? Simple, Naruto-kun. My father did not want to be known outside of the demon society. So never speak if this again, is that understood? Hi, Kyuubi-hime. Kyuubi was not ready for her new nickname, Kyuubi-hime. And Naruto-kun, why did you call me that? Asked Kyuubi with a faint pink blush. Even if she was a princess, no one had ever called her Hime before. It was always with the formalities, Kyuubi-sama. Naruto looked a little bit confused. Why shouldn't you maybe demon princess, but a princess is a princess nonetheless. At the point, Naruto got into the same seating position as Kyuubi and bowed once again for the umpteenth time to her. Kyuubi-hime, I am sorry for any disrespect I've shown towards you. Kyuubi was surprised by the way Naruto acted. He is so polite that it's scary. There is no need for that, Naruto-kun. You have shown nothing but respect to me. Naruto raised his head and sat back down into his position earlier. Hi. Okay, now where was I? Kyuubi scratched her chin as she tried to remember. Right, now that you know who I am, I'll tell you why I attacked the village. Naruto stayed quiet as she began. This happened 6 years ago. My father was attacked by a forbidden jutsu, the Onibuki. Kyuubi-hime, what does the jutsu do? It creates a powerful poison that only affects demons. It causes the demon it is directed at to be paralyzed for a set amount of time, but to use it you must use an insane amount of human chakra, and a seal is in order with 5 human sacrifices. Naruto's eyes widened. Why? Why would someone make such a horrible jutsu, especially one with such a great trade? Well, Naruto-kun, as you know, there are many demons, correct? He nodded. We may be all demon, but we all are different also. So are peaceful, such as my father surprisingly, and others that are insane like the Shikaku. Naruto was dumbfounded to hear that the demon lord of hell himself was said to be peaceful. Normally he wouldn't believe it, but this was coming from the demon lord's daughter. Is he really peaceful? Kyuubi's face turned into an annoyed look and sighed. Hi, he was. He didn't have any problems with humans. He was too kind for Hell's throne, but he also was extremely and insanely powerful. But he also was very strict. He wanted only the best for me. That's why I am known as the Lord of Hell to you humans. My father wanted me to be respected. Your father sounds like he is a great father. Kyuubi smiled. Arigato, Naruto-kun. But we need to continue. Hi. Well, here is the story. My father and I were in a forest. We both were hunting. At the time Kuri was with us, we were teaching her how to hunt as she was just old enough to do so. As we quickly ran through the forest teaching Kuri the ropes, we came across a snake. Normally we would just ignore it, but the snake was different. How so, Kyuubi-hime? The snake's appearance looked normal only if exclude the fact that it was as big as a house, and that was its size as it was rolled up. But that wasn't the thing that got my father's attention as did mine. The snake had a weird scent to it. We would have dismissed it, but the fact that it wasn't everyday to find a huge snake the size of a house. So we engaged the snake while still teaching Curry how to attack something bigger than her. They are in the form of a normal size fox except the number of tails. As we fought the snake, we started to get a strange scent. A very foul scent that smelled of humans, blood, and a very distinct smell of snakes. At that point, father decided to finish the job and used some demonic chakra and enhanced its fangs. When he bit the snake's head, it looked as if it instantly died as it fell to the ground unmoving. Just as father let go of the death grip his jaws had, the snake stated to disintegrate as it left a thin purple smog my father accidentally inhaled. Naruto understood what happened to her father. He got paralyzed, didn't he? Kyuubi nodded. Although that is not all. My father slumped down. I was going to help him until I heard a yelp. I turned to Curry. I saw Curry that I did, but that was not all. Holding Curry with a sword at her neck was a man. The man had very pale skin, very long pitch black hair, and his eyes were yellow with black slits. He wore a robe with a bunch of other things. At the sight, my father was enraged. He hated seeing his kin attacked. The man grinned at my father and introduced himself. His name was Orochimaru. Naruto gasped. That name, that man, he was the legendary Snake Sennin. Hi, he is. I asked what did he want with my family and he laughed. He told us that he wanted us to attack Konoha and if we refused he would attack Curry. Kyuubi's hands clenched his kimono with anger. Naruto also was feeling anger. He may have not known Curry or Orochimaru, but what Orochimaru was doing was completely wrong. That bastard. Oro-tem. My father and I wanted to decline, but he had Curry. I no choice. Kyuubi said while holding back her tears. I accepted to attack the village but only wished to keep father out of it. Slowly hot tears started to flow down his cheeks. I hated to do it but it had to be done. I was able to save Curry but in exchange I killed so many innocents. I knew the consequences but it had to be done. I fully knew I was going to kill many but still went with it. I'm so sorry Naruto-kun. Kyuubi finally let her tears fly as she covered her face with her hands in shame. Do not deserve forgiveness. Suddenly Kyuubi felt arm wrap around her body. She felt a small body in front comforting her as she felt a hand stroke her back to calm her down. Even though her eyes were still closed she instantly knew who the person was, and Naruto-kun. Kyuubi Haim, you were wrong. You had no choice. It was your sister after all. I would have done the same also. You deserve to be forgiven. It must have hurt knowing that you killed countless with your own hands. While doing so you were sealed in me and caused me pain. Kyuubi stiffened when she heard the last sentence. But now that I am fully aware of the story I can say that I forgive you. I understand the circumstances and for that I still forgive you Kyuubi Haim. Kyuubi was now surprised at the fact that he had forgiven him. He understood her position, and still called her, Kyuubi Haim. Arigato Naruto-kun. She wrapped her arms around him and hugged him back. You're welcome Kyuubi Haim, he said with a smile. Naruto was happy to finally know why he was hated and made a new friend. When Kyuubi looked at his face she was blessed to see a smile. No, not any smile, it was his true smile. Kyuubi was about the fourth person to see his true smile. The Hokage was the first along with the two people at the ramen shop, the old man and Ayame-san. As Naruto continued to smile he started to fade away. In fact he could feel it. Kyuubi Haim. What's happening? It looks like you're leaving again Naruto-kun. Nani? But I like it here. Naruto panicked and let Kyuubi go. Kyuubi giggled. Don't worry, we'll see each other again. But I'm dead. How we'll see you again? Shit. I forgot to tell him that he was not dead. What the hell? That's not something to forget about. Oh well, he will find out. Don't worry Naruto-kun, you'll see. And with that he finally disappeared. Unknown white room. An open window let in a cool breeze. The sun shined brightly through the window. Outside was a view of a monument with 4 faces carved into it, and a busy village bustling around. A familiar blonde demon container let out a groan as he slowly opened his piercing blue eyes. Naruto's vision was still blurry, but as he got them into focus he was greeted to see a girl. "Wow, you're beautiful, are you an angel?" The young girl just stood in her spot stiff as she had a faint pink blush on her face. Anyo, I'm not an angel. Nani? She's not an angel, this can't be heaven, then. Naruto thought to himself until, no. Not the other place. Naruto yelled as he jumped out of his bed and started to run around the room. The poor girl was so surprised by Naruto's outburst, she fell on her butt. But her shock did not last long as she quickly got back up and tried to calm Naruto down. "Hey. Baka, what the hell is your problem?" The girl screamed, but it was useless as our blonde hero continued to run around screaming his ting lungs out. Suddenly the door burst open revealing the Hokage with 2 people. One was a man with long brownish blonde hair in a ponytail. Hidden behind the strands of hair on the man's forehead was a leaf headband. The man's eyes held a dark brown color. I forgot his eye color. I think it was brown. I don't think it is turquoise green like Ino's. Please tell me. His skin color tanned from the training in the sun. His attire consisted of a black long-sleeved shirt with the sleeves rolled to his upper forearms, a forest green jonin vest, and over all of the previous clothing was a simple dark red sleeveless overcoat. The man's pants were the average black shinobi cargos with black ninja sandals. The other man was an Anbu. The Anbu's mask, which hid the gender to everyone, was in the shape of the dog. The attire of this Anbu was the same as the others. The black cloak covered the Anbu's entire body, and strapped to the Anbu's back was a simple katana. "Naruto-kun. What's wrong? What happened?" The Hokage commanded but was ignored. "Hokage-sama, allow me." The Anbu spoke. The Hokage nodded. Just as the Hokage nodded, the Anbu caught the screaming Naruto. Naruto felt someone grab him and held him still. He looked at the person only to see the Anbu, but he did not know that. Naruto struggled to get free as he yelled out, "Help! Satan's got me!" Everyone in the room rose an eyebrow, with everyone thinking the same thing. What the hell is he talking about? Naruto somehow escaped from the Anbu's grasp and turned to Makia. "Run for it." Just as the little demon container turned, he saw a familiar face. "OG-san. What are you doing in hell?" Naruto said in very surprised voice. The Hokage's sweat dropped. What in the hell is Naruto talking about? The Hokage thought. "Naruto-kun, what are you talking about?" asked the old man. Naruto suddenly looked around. He noticed he was in a hospital room surrounded by people, by which he didn't know most of them. Naruto, embarrassed from his actions earlier, apologized. Sorry." Naruto flashed his foxy grin. "Now Naruto-kun, mind telling everyone here what happened?" the Hokage asked. Naruto, still showing his foxy grin, took a seat on his bed. "Hi, OG-san, but would you mind telling me who are these people?" he asked as Naruto pointed to the girl, the Anbu, and Inoichi. Hokage nodded. But before the Hokage could do more, the Anbu stepped forward. "Ahem. Well, I guess I should start." The Anbu slowly removed his mask. After fully removing the dog mask and pulling the hood down, revealed the face. Now stood before them was a man, his silver hair spiked straight up and some lean towards the left. His left eye was covered by a cloth which acted like a bandana wrapped around his forehead. Trailing down his face showed a black face mask that covered from his nose down. The only part of the man's face that was shown was his right eye. That very eye gave a very lazy look. "Konnichiwa. Name Hatake Kakashi." The Anbu, now known as Kakashi, leaned into Naruto with his eye in a upside down shape as a sigh of a smile. What about your other mask? I want to see your face, Kakashi-san." Naruto grumbled as he waited for Kakashi to show his face. "Huh. Did you say something?" lazily replied Kakashi as he held out an orange book with his nose already dug in. only showing his open eye for a second until he returned to his book with a little giggle. Naruto was okay with being ignored, but he hated perverts. He recognized the Orange Book of Naughtiness as Ika Ika Paradise. He once read a page from the Hokage, and that single page caused him to faint with a nosebleed. Ironically, Naruto had found out about the Hokage's hobby the same day he had the talk about resecting woman. Hypocrite, was all that Naruto thought about the Hokage. Oi, baka, Hataki hentai, listen to me. Naruto raged on as the others just smiled and sweat dropped at the name Naruto came up with. The Hokage cleared his throat as he began to speak. That's enough, Naruto-kun. Naruto just grumbled as he sat back down, crossed his arms, and stuck his tongue at Kakashi, who answered back with a raised eyebrow. The Hokage just sighed. Inoichi-san, would you mind introducing you and your daughter? The long-haired man smiled back. Gladly. Inoichi walked towards Naruto with the girl. Inoichi smiled at the Kyuubi container. Naruto simply rose an eyebrow and tilted his head to the left. Inoichi smirked. Heya kiddo, name's Yamanaka Inoichi, Jonin. Inoichi brought his hand up as a gesture for a handshake. Naruto looked at the man's hand and then his face. Finally he grabbed the hand and shook it with a smile. Nice to meet ya, Inoichi-san. Naruto said with much happiness in the sound of his voice. Once they let go, Inoichi stepped to the side. Now in place of where he was, now stood the young girl from earlier. Naruto looked at the girl closely so he could get a good look at her. The young girl now stood adjacent to Naruto. She had pale shoulder-length blonde hair. To the left of her hair was a flower hairpin which held a couple strands. Her turquoise-green eyes glowed like little emeralds. She was small, but that was understandable by the fact she looked no older than Naruto. Her clothes were simply a cute light orange t-shirt, light blue short, and a pair of normal sandals. Yamanaka Ino. Ino just held her hand out as she waited for a reply. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto shook her hand and they both smiled at. The Hokage smiled. Thank you, Kami, for granting Naruto to have a chance of having a friend. Sarutobi thought as he began to talk. Good, now that the introductions are over, we have a matter to attend. He turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun, why were you screaming earlier today? Naruto quickly answered. Well, when I awoke everything was a little fuzzy. When my vision came into focus, the first thing or person I saw was Ino-san. Quote. But Naruto-kun, what does that have to do with you screaming? I mean, Ino-chan's face isn't that scary, right? Inoichi laughed out, though he regretted it when Ino hit him on the head with full force of a pissed off woman. Gomen, I'm not done yet. Well, when I first saw Ino-san, with the way the sunlight came in, I thought she was an angel. Naruto smiled at Ino. Ino blushed remembering that moment. She tried to hide the blush but failed, as everyone except for Naruto, of course. My Ino-chan's growing up, Inoichi thought with a smirk. Naruto continued. Well, after she told me that she wasn't an angel, I kinda jumped to conclusions and thought that I was in hell or something. Now we're here. Sarutobi sighed at Naruto. Well, Naruto, since you just got up today, why don't you rest a few more days and we'll talk about why you're in here? Naruto nodded. But OG-san, it'll get boring here and the ramen make this place like hell, he complained. Inoichi butted in at this point. Don't worry, kid, I'll make sure Ino visits you. Anyo, arigato Inoichi-san, but I couldn't. Ino has a life also, so I humbly decline. Naruto was a little sad that he gave up the company, but he did not want people to just come because they had to. When Ino heard this, she gained a stress vein on her forehead. Are you saying that I'm not good enough to keep you company? Ino exploded. Naruto was terrified. And no. That's not. He was cut off. That's it. I'll come by every day just to show you how unworthy you are. With her rant over, Ino huffed out of the room, leaving a scared Naruto and 3 laughing adults. Inoichi bowed at the Hokage and left with the now furious Ino. So after Inoichi left, The Hokage looked back at our blonde hero. Well, Naruto-kun, looks like we don't have to worry about you being alone, do we? Quiet, OG-sa. Naruto wasn't able to complete his sentence. Naruto suddenly felt a little lightheaded as he began to stumble a little. Luckily for him, Kakashi finally got his nose out of his so-called Bible, and assisted the slightly wobbled boy. Easy there, Naruto-kun, Kakashi supposed as he laid Naruto back onto the bed. Hi, arigato Kakashi-san. I was just had a suddenly dizzy feeling. Naruto said as he still looked a little woozy. Well, Naruto-kun, that's not a surprise. In one day we found you screaming and yelling. You struggled a little with Kakashi-san over there, got verbally attacked by Ino-chan. And this all happened the day you awoke. Naruto just gave him a foxy grin. Hey, OG-san, how long have I been out? Well, about a week at least. The Hokage replied. Hee hee, guess the villagers really did a number on me this time, did they? Naruto looked down with a hint of pain. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence. Quote. Naruto continued to look down. Quote. Sarutobi tried to think of what to say. Quote. Kakashi stayed silent as he turned the page. He made a silent giggle as he continued to read his novel. Hey OG-san, can you tell me what the heck just happened while I was out? Naruto unexpectedly asked while breaking the silence. Are you sure, Naruto-kun? I mean, you just awoke minutes ago, the Hokage worriedly asked. Naruto smiled at the Hokage. Arigato OG-san. I feel alright, really. Can you just tell me what happened? Naruto-kun, you should really get back to bed, a rest. You're really fatigued, the old man argued back. Naruto gave a stern look back at the old man. Fine, at least hear me out, alright. The Hokage gave a heavy sigh. Hi, go for it, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded as he gave the Hokage a serious look. I spoke with the Kyuubi, he simply stated. As those words left Naruto's lips, the Hokage visibly flinched and looked at Naruto wide-eyed. Kami, he knows. This also made Kakashi stop reading his novel. He hated the foxes. It was its fault for the loss of his sensei, the Yondaime. Arashi-sensei. Kakashi stuffed his book back into his pocket, for the conversation just got very interesting. The Hokage finally shook himself out of his trance. And Naruto-kun, what did the fox say to you? Naruto grinned. Well, I'll tell you my story if you tell me your story. Sarutobi silently grumbled. Alright, but after you must rest. Hi. Alright, what was the last thing you remember, Naruto-kun? Naruto thought for a moment. The last thing I remember was the kunai slowly heading for me. The Hokage rubbed his chin as he thought to himself, should I leave somethings out? No, I can't risk it. The Kyuubi might be able to see through Naruto's eyes if he is conscious or not. The Hokage was interrupted by Kakashi, who looked at him with a serious stare. Hokage-sama, please allow me to explain. I will not leave anything out. Arigato Kakashi-san. Please do. The Hokage gave Kakashi a nod. Kakashi turned to the young blonde. Well, Naruto, this is how everything went down a week ago. Flashback. As the kunai flew towards the now beaten child, everything slowed down. The kunai drew closer inches from his neck until clang. The said kunai was intercepted from its target by another kunai. Quickly as the sound was heard, an Anbu squad of 5 appeared with Kakashi hidden in his masked leading. What the hell are you Chunins doing? Asked Kakashi. The leaf shinobi who was the cause of the deflected kunai spoke. What we are doing? We all are trying to save this village from that demon. A man from the mob yelled as he supported the Chunin. That's right. We are tired of the evil that walks our streets. It must die in exchange of the lives it took 6 years ago, yelled a woman. Kakashi felt as if it was time to end the chaos. He was worried about the bleeding child his squad surrounded. Tori, bird, Tora, tiger, Hu, panther. Help with crow control. Neko, cat, watch the Uzumaki kid. I'll quickie finish the Chunins. Neko nodded as the said Anbu member picked up Naruto and waited for the others to finish their mission. Kakashi, or in Anbu code Inu, dog, dashed for the three Chunins. He drew his katana in an attempt to incapacitate the three. Kakashi's blade was just seconds away from one of the Chunin's face. Kakashi was sure he was going to make contact. Unfortunately, another katana blade blocked his strike. Tori, what is the meaning of this? Kakashi asked. Tori said nothing while he began to strike back with his katana. Kakashi began to parry the blows as he had no intentions of killing a comrade. Answer me, Tori. What are you doing? He asked as another strike from the katana grazed his upper left arm. The minor wound did little damage as Kakashi slightly flinched. Meanwhile, Neko held the unconscious Naruto as she watched the events take place. She laid Naruto onto the ground as she began to check his wounds. His wounds are bad but they are slowly healing. Must be the Kyuubi. Just as Neko finished light examination, a kunai came flying towards her and the child. Quickly, she deflected it. In one swift motion she picked up the blonde and went into defensive position as she stared wide-eyed at the perpetrators. Tora, are you defecting as well? Unlike Kakashi's question, Neko's was answered, hi, we are. I agree with most of the villagers, the demon must die. Stated as he charged for the Anbu who was busy with the blonde. Neko dodges as she scarcely from the katana. Kakashi heard what Hu had said as he turned his attention back to his fight with Tori. Tori, I know the Kyuubi killed your wife and 2-year-old son but that boy is not the Kyuubi nor is he a demon. Kakashi yelled as he went blade to blade with defected Anbu. The Chunins started joined in the fray. All three attacked Kakashi as he now went on the defensive. Kuso. I can't use any jutsus. The mob is still kinda close and Neko and I can't escape. Oof. Kakashi was hit by a swift kick into his stomach as he slid back. Ah! A high-pitched scream was heard. Kakashi turned to check on Neko. Neko was successfully dodging at the moment. Although she still was worried about Naruto's wounds. This caused her to be distracted enough to be hit by a thrust kick to her spine courtesy of Hu. From the moment Neko was hit, her grip on Naruto loosened and caused him to fly towards a good amount of distance from Kakashi and Neko. As Neko collided with a tree, she began to scout for Naruto with her eyes as she tried to get up. By this point Kakashi had seen what happened as tried to approach Naruto. Tora saw Naruto was vulnerable at the moment and decided it was the time to strike. I'm sorry Inu but it must be done. Tora ran as he drew his katana and prepared to do a swift slash towards the limp body of Naruto. Kakashi has had enough of this. No, he is the closest thing to sensei. Kakashi with one swift blow he parried the next strike and gave Tori a huge gash across his stomach causing him to fly and plow into the three Chunins. In a second Kakashi dashed towards Naruto in an attempt to save him. Neko, at the moment is now up, grabbed Hyu's leg and stabbed his thigh. Now with Hu unable to she also charged for Naruto. At this point Tora's blade was swing down towards Naruto's neck. The blade drew closer as Kakushi's scream was heard, Naruto. Doten. Daruki Geishi. A huge wall of mud appeared at the very second as Hyu's blade was about to connect. The mud wall caused the katana to slip out of Hyu's grasps. Inu and Neko turned to see who did the jutsu. The Hokage now appeared with more Anbu with him. Hokage-sama. Both Neko and Inu yelled with surprise in their voices. The Hokage gave the mob and defected Anbu a dirty look. Anbu squad, crowd control. Take all these people as prisoners, by force. Also take the defected Anbu for immediate interrogation. Go. With the commands down, the new Anbu did their assignments. The Hokage walked up to Kakashi and Neko. Kakashi-san, Yugo-san, report. The Neko Anbu known as Yugo answered for Kakashi who was being treated for his arm wound. Hokage-sama, these people were attempting to murder Naruto. At first when we got here Naruto was already incapacitated and unconscious. A kunai was approaching Naruto's neck. Luckily Kakashi deflected it. And finally the Anbu members Tori, Tora, and Hu defected with the intention of also killing Naruto. Anything else, Hokage-sama? Yugo finished. No, that will be all. Tell Kakashi that you both are dismissed. Yugo nodded, but before she could, the Hokage started to talk again. Arigato, Yugo-san, for saving Naruto-kun. Yugo simply smiled as she walked towards Kakashi. End flashback. Naruto silently sat in his bed as he looked at Kakashi. Kakashi-san, is that everything that happened during that night? Kakashi nodded. Demorigato Kakashi-san. That is all I wanted to know. The Hokage smiled as he felt relieved at the fact Naruto showed no hatred to the villagers. Of course, Naruto is too pure and kind-hearted. The old man thought. Now Naruto-kun, we held up our end of the bargain. Now will you please tell us about the Kyuubi? Sarutobi asked as he gave Naruto a very serious look. Hi Oji-san. Now where to begin? Of the next few minutes Naruto explained everything about the Kyuubi. By the end of the story both Kakashi and Sarutobi were dumbfounded. Kakashi even dropped his book. Orochimaru, the Hokage grimly thought with anger. Kakashi on the other hand felt a little content about the story. Naruto, how do you know that the Kyuubi is telling the truth? Naruto's face turned to Kakashi. When the Kyuubi finished telling me her story she cried. She cried her eyes out. In her eyes was pain and regret. She may be a demon, but I think now even demons have families they would do anything for. Naruto stated with much wisdom in his voice. Naruto-kun, you have no idea how mature you sound right now, the old man said with much pride in his voice. Anyo, it may be because now I know the story and the fact I am friends with the one and only Kyuubi Haim. Kakashi and the Hokage raised their eyebrows. Kyuubi, Haim. They both said. The blonde just grinned. Hi. Kyuubi Haim is a girl, and she is nice, kind, and really beautiful too. Naruto mindscape. Baka Naruto embarrassing me like this, the demon princess thought as she tried to hide her blush from no one. Although she had a small smile on her lips. Arigato Naruto-kun. Naruto's hospital room. The Hokage smirked while Kakashi picked up his book and shrugged. Well, after all the things that happened today, I guess I'll give the benefit of the doubt. The Hokage sighed. Naruto-kun, get some rest now, it's been a long day full of surprises, I'll come by in 2 days. Naruto nodded as the Hokage and Kakashi left. Goodbye Oji-san, Kakashi-san. Naruto once again awakes from his slumber. He opens his eyes as he remembers the events that took place yesterday. Damn, what a day that was. He slowly gets out of bed as he limped towards the bathroom. His body still ached a little, but luckily the Kyuubi's healing helped with the major injuries. Naruto starts his morning rituals while he thinks about the meeting he and Kyuubi had during his sleep. Flashback. Naruto wakes up to find that he is in his mindscape once again. Naruto decides to look for Kyuubi Haim in chances to find out if she called him. Naruto walks down the stone path as he admires the beautiful scene he imagined for the Kyuubi not too long ago. The pink sakura petals lightly blow across his face. The sun's warm rays touch his young tan skin. Naruto sighs as he begins to think to himself, I can get used to this. He continues down the path until he spots the Kyuubi peacefully sitting under the same tree when they had their first talk. Naruto begins to jog towards her. Ohio Kyuubi Haim. The fox boy greeted as he jogs towards her all while waving at her. The Kyuubi smiles as she sees him waving towards her as she waves back. Ohio Naruto-kun. Naruto finally reaches his destination. Anyo, Kyuubi Haim. I awoke her not too while ago. Do you need me for something? The Kyuubi continues to smile at him. Hi, I want to talk to you about some of the abilities and benefits you have. What do you mean? The fox boy asks with a confused face planted on. Well, you are the holder of the great Kyuubi no Kitsune. Naruto nods as he begins to slowly understand. So with you sealed within me, I receive some of your abilities. Kyuubi also nods. Not all yet though. I only have given you one ability as of now. Naruto's interest perks up. Anyo, Anyo, Anyo. What is it Kyuubi Haim? The little bundle of blonde hair asked while lightly hopping up and down. Calm down, Naruto-kun, and let me answer. The Kyuubi ordered, and in no time the blonde-haired boy simply calmed down and sat across from the Kyuubi. Now that's better. Remember when you got an injury of some sort, it was completely healed the next day. Naruto thought about his past injuries. He remembered all the broken bones, cuts, and bruises he received in the past. Hi, the Kyuubi continued. Good. Did you ever wonder why your injuries were healed the next day? Naruto once again went into deep thought. Ah, I did one time wonder about it, but I just simply let it as it is. Naruto-kun, that is your ability, the ability of rapid healing of almost any injury. Kyuubi stated. That's kind cool, but it still means I can be killed, correct? Naruto said with a little happiness in his tone. Kyuubi smirked. Correct, Naruto-kun. You really are too smart and mature for your age, you know that. Naruto just blushed at the compliment. Arigato, Kyuubi-hime. The Kyuubi just giggled. So cute, she thought to herself. Kyuubi-hime, I really would like to talk more with you, but Oji-san said that I really should be resting. Naruto said. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. You may feel awake, but in reality you are still sleeping. Kyuubi tried to explain. Unfortunately, Naruto did not understand. Yes. Kyuubi pondered a way to explain this to a 6-year-old. He may be mature, but he still is 6, she thought. Finally, she found a way to explain it. Well, think of our meeting as a dream. While you sleep, you can come here by your will, or if I need you. Simply out, this place is like a dream you can control. Naruto seemed to understand the concept. Let's see, so I can sometime control my dreams. Yes, Naruto-kun, that's correct. Kyuubi stated. Well, that's all I have to tell you. Is there any questions about you healing? Kyuubi asked. Hi, did you heal all my wounds as of now? The blonde fox boy said. I healed the major wounds and some of the minor. Kyuubi replied. Naruto was hoping to get out of the hospital soon. Nani, but why not all? Kyuubi smiled. That's an easy question. I noticed since you often get an injury of some sort, big or small, I quickly healed it. Although now your body is starting to depend too much on you healing abilities, so in order to teach your body to not depend on you ability, I will block some of the healing paths towards some minor injuries. But don't worry, from what I can see you have a high pain tolerance. She ended her speech with a smile. Naruto took the answer well, as he understood what she meant. Arigato, Kyuubi-hime. I really don't want to rely on something every time. I want to do some things on my own. Naruto strongly stated as he now stood up proudly. The Kyuubi was impressed. Alright, Naruto-kun, I think it's time for you to get back. You'll awake soon. Kyuubi said, but she was a little sad. The two had only met around 2 days ago and only talked twice, but she enjoyed it. Naruto understood. Gomen, Kyuubi-hime. I guess you right. Naruto started to fade as he waved goodbye to the fox princess. Bye, Naruto-kun. End flashback. Naruto had finished brushing his teeth at his hospital room's built-in sink. The 6-year-old blonde started to change into the spare cloths he found on his bed. He slipped on the gray shirt and dark blue shorts. Changing for him was a little troublesome for him. His body still ached all over, but he could handle it. Naruto glanced at the clock after his morning rituals. 8 a.m., I guess I should expect breakfast soon. Suddenly a knock was heard at his door. Must be my breakfast. Ew, I hope it's not hospital ramen. He thought as he replied back to the door, come. The door opened and in came a smell which he knew by heart. Ichiraku miso ramen was all that ran through his mind, until he saw who came in with the ramen. 2 people entered. One was a man and another was a young girl, which she was holding a tin emitting the heavenly miso ramen smell. Ino-san. Inoichi-san. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, completely surprised by their appearance. A stress vein came across Ino's forehead. Naruto. What kind of greeting is that, and have you forgotten that I said I would prove to you that you should begin for me to take care of you? Ino finished. Inoichi laughed. Now Ino. Remember he had a long day yesterday with the screaming and all. Ino calmed down but still gave Naruto a glare. Gomen Ino-san. I kinda forgot. Naruto apologized while flashing the foxy grin at Ino. Whatever. Here, Ino declared as she held out the tin towards Naruto. Naruto, needless to say, was ecstatic to discover the wonder-smelling tin was meant for him, really. The ramen is for me. Ino just nodded. A giant warm smile spread across the fox boy's face as he thanked her. Arigato, Ino-chan. Ino blushed at being called by her new name. Why you're welcome. The blush did not go unnoticed by Inoichi. Well, Ino-chan, I guess I'll see in a while. Have fun with Naruto. He left the two blondes to their business. Naruto was now drooling a little as he took the tin from Ino's hands. Unfortunately, his body still was a little weak. Once Ino let go of the tin and gave Naruto the full weight of it, he nearly dropped it. Gah! Naruto yelped out as he barely was able to hold up the ramen bowl-filled tin. He gripped the tin at the bottom as like the simple tin weighed a ton. Ino raised an eyebrow and watched the scene in front of her until she remembered something. Oh crap. Of course he would be weak right now. He just awoke from a deep slumber yesterday. Ino quickly grabbed the tin back from Naruto to ease the tin's evil burden of him. Nay, sorry Naruto-kun. You must still feel weak and ache all over. Naruto, now relieved of the weight, smiled back at Ino. Arigato, I still am kind aching all over. Ino smiled back. Okay, eat up then. You need all the food and rest you can get. Naruto agreed as he slowly walked back towards his bed and got on it in a sitting position as Ino brought one of the rolling tables with the tin on it. Naruto opened the tin as it revealed exactly what he thought it did. Ichiraku miso ramen. Naruto yelled as he took a big whiff of the heavenly smell. Ino handed him some chopsticks which he gladly grabbed and broke them apart. Itadekamau. Naruto began to eat as Ino watched as he devoured the ramen. As Naruto ate, he noticed Ino watching him eat. Anyo Ino-chan, ah. Naruto held up a patch of ramen curled around the chopsticks as he held them towards Ino. His free hand hovered under the noodles, catching the drops of liquid falling. Ino was taken back by the male blonde's actions. Naruto-kun, that's okay, I'm not hungry. Ino tried to decline but failed as Naruto gave her the puppy pout, or on his case the fox pout. Come on, how can you resist non-hospital ramen? Especially Ichiraku ramen. Please Ino-chan. Ino just sighed as he slowly took a bite of the ramen. Naruto mindscape. Kyuubi sat under her tree as she watched her container's antics and smirked. How clueless you are, Naruto-kun. If you keep your boyish charm as you get older, you sure will be a heartbreaker, that you will. Hospital room. As she finished swallowing the ramen, she kinda felt a little hungry now. See Ino-chan, it was good, wasn't it? Naruto grinned as Ino sheepishly nodded. Here Ino-chan, I'm not really hungry anymore. Naruto pushed the bowl towards Ino. Ino was certainly surprised by more of his antics. Anyo, you sure? I heard from Ichiraku-san that you inhale the stuff. Naruto sheepishly smiled as he answered her question. I guess I'm just not as hungry as I usually am. It's probably from the fact I just woke up when you came in. Ino smiled as she thanked Naruto for the ramen. As Ino began to eat the ramen, the two blondes began to talk about themselves. So Ino-chan, tell me more about yourself. Ino thought for a moment. Let's see. As you know, my name is Yamanaka Ino. I live my parents at the Yamanaka florist shop. I sometimes help out at the shop. My birthday is on September 23rd. Oh yeah, I'm thinking about becoming a ninja like my daddy. Naruto listened intently as she finished. Wow, Ino-chan, it must be so cool to work at a flower store. Ino gave a skeptic look back at Naruto. Nani? You don't think it's kind lame working with flowers and all? Of course not. I think flowers are kind nice. I like the smell of them in the morning. Naruto finished as he once again flashed his foxy grin. I have never met a boy would said they like flowers. Usually boys just say they're boring and useless. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Well, at least I do right, Ino-chan. Ino smiled as she continued. Now tell me about you. Gladly. Name's Uzumaki Naruto. I'm an orphan. I've never met my parents. They supposedly died the day the Kyuubi attacked. I like to eat Ichiraku ramen with Hokage-san and pulling pranks. Ironically, I was born on the same day my parents died, October 10th. Finally, I guess I also want to become a ninja, but take it further. I want to become the next Hokage. Naruto finished with his fist pumped in the air. Arigato Naruto-kun for telling me about yourself. Ino thanked. You to Ino-chan. Naruto smiled back with his answer. Nay Naruto-kun, tell me about some of the pranks you pulled. Naruto grinned. Well, one time And that's how Naruto's stay went with Ino in the hospital. Every day the two talked with each other and became quick friends. After 5 more days Naruto was released from the hospital. Even after he was released the two hung out with each other. They were like best friends. The days went, weeks passed, and in a snap 5 months pasted by. Time skip 5 months after hospital release. Ino and Naruto are seen running towards the park. Come on Ino-chan, I'm winning. Naruto yelled as they raced across the market towards the park. Just you wait, I'll beat you. Ino yelled back as they both laughed their way towards their destination. As both children finally reached the park. Currently there were a bunch of other kids there also. One boy was laying down and what looked like he was cloud watching. His hair was a little long, which he had it in a small tail as it made his head look like a pineapple. Next to the said boy was a healthy boy munching on some chips. His brown hair spiked wildly around the top of his head, though not as spiky as Naruto's. The boy's cheeks showed a pink swirl on each. Down in the sandbox was another boy quietly sitting there. He sported black hair which looked like a small puffball. Also on another note, he had black sunglasses which hid his eyes. A dog's barking was heard as another boy was seen playing with a tiny puppy. His brown messy hair flew around as he moved. He had strange marking on his face. It consisted of a red triangle under each of his eyes. Finally sitting on a bench was a little girl reading a small scroll. Her eyes were a pale lavender which were pupil-less. Her very dark blue shoulder-length hair dangled down her head as she looked down at her scroll. All of the children the two saw was about their ages. Naruto looked around while thinking what to do next. Nay, Ino-chan. I'll race to that bush over there. Naruto pointed towards a bush across the park. Ino smirked as she agreed. Hi, you're on then. Naruto then picked up a pebble. We start when this pebble hit he ground. He tossed the pebble in the air as the two blondes waited for the signal. The pebble finally made contact with the ground as the blondes raced for the bush. Naruto once again had the lead, but Ino was quickly trailing behind. They were neck and neck as the bush got closer with each step. They were moments away from the bush until Naruto heard someone crying. He stopped and looked around for the source of the sound. Anyo, did you hear that? Naruto had stopped as he turned to Ino who had also stopped. No, what? She asked back as Naruto began to run past the bush. A little farther down, there was unseen from the other children were 4 more boys stood as one girl was on her knees crying her eyes out. Ah, is forehead girl gonna cry some more, huh? One of the boys said. The other boy began also. Stupid forehead girl. Go and block the sun longer so I can sleep in. The final boy just laughed as he smirked. Hey, what's going on here? Ino yelled out with Naruto in front of her. The boys looked at the 2 new kids as one of the boys replied back, Oi. This is none of your business. Go away. Naruto on the other hand understood what was happening. He himself knew what it was like to be harassed. Leave her alone already. What did she do anyway? The same boy answered back towards Naruto and Ino, go away. Like I said, it's none of your business. Naruto and Ino simply started to walk towards the girl, ignoring the boys. They walked past the 3 boys and helped out the girl. A closer look and Naruto could see that she looked like she was his age. She had pink hair that trailed down until the end of her head. She had emerald green eyes which was full of tears. Ino tried to comfort her as Naruto tried as well. Hey, you okay there? Ino asked the girl. The girl sniffled and answered, hi. Naruto looked back at the boys. Leave her alone now. He screamed. The boys just looked at him as if he was crazy. The boys started to walk up to him with smirks as one talked back. What are you gonna do about it? Cry with your girlfriends over there. Naruto braced himself as the boys got closer. With his experience from mobs, he could feel when he was in danger. Naruto started to sweat as the boys were now in front of him. At least you got balls, kid, said one of the boys as he punched Naruto in the face and the others joined. Ino saw what happened. Naruto-kun. Naruto fell to the ground as the boys continued to stomp on his body. One of the boys started to taunt Naruto. After we're finished with you, I guess we'll beat up those two girl also, nay. Naruto was not happy to hear that as he was picked up by the neck of his shirt. Take this, he yelled as he pulled his fist back. Meanwhile the other two boys slowly walked towards the girls. Naruto saw as the girls looked terrified as the boys drew closer. He gritted his teeth. He wanted to protect them. He wanted to help the girls, and wanted to beat the shit out of the boys. Shit. What kind of Hokage will be if I can't at least these bastards? Naruto's gaze turned back at the boy's fist as it started to move towards his face. Naruto waited for the punch to make contact. His view started to slow down as the fist came closer. The fist made contact but Naruto was still conscious as he smirked at the boy and spit some blood into his face. The boy growled and drew his fist back once again, only it was slower than he did. Everything through Naruto's eyes became slower. Nani? Why is everything slowing down a little and becoming more detailed? He asked himself. He decided to take his chances and strike back. Naruto began to fight back as he kneed the boy who was holding him in the groin before the poor boy could hit him again. The boy cried in pain as it was a clean hit to his jewels. Naruto quickly got up as the other two boys began to look at him. Everything through Naruto's eyes still seemed a little slower. Naruto took a fighting stance. During all his beatings he learned a little bit of how to defend himself from average villagers. The boys began to throw some punches which Naruto easily dodged and gave each of them a good punch to their noses. The boys got up and made a break for it. They did not want to feel pain like that. Naruto sighed as he finally felt relieved. He turned towards Ino and the pink-haired girl. You girls okay? He didn't get an answer as Ino and the other girl continued to stare back at his face. Kuso. Is my face that bad, Ino-chan? He asked hoping that it wasn't. Ino snapped out of her daze and answer, NN Naruto-kun. You eyes. They're a darker shade of blue and is a ring around your pupil with a triangle on the ring pointing towards the pupil. Ino screamed. Nani? My eyes have. Naruto also screamed. Ino took out a pocket mirror and handed it towards Naruto. Naruto glanced into the mirror. His eyes widened as he did have a dark shade of eye with a white ring around his pupil with a white triangle on the ring as it pointed towards to his pupil. It was just as Ino stated. What happened to my eyes? Naruto screamed but he remembered the two girls. He looked at the girls. Ino, is she alright? The pink-haired girl nodded as she began to stand up. Arigato, for helping me. Naruto gave a foxy grin. No problem. Ino, can you take her home? I want to get my eyes checked up by the Hokage. Ino nodded. Anyo, shouldn't you go to the hospital? Naruto shook his head. I don't think anything is wrong. I think this is something the Hokage told me about, a Keki Genkai or something. Ino understood as she helped the pink-haired girl and Naruto began to run towards the Hokage tower. Naruto ran through the streets as fast as he could. Kyuubi Hime must have healed me fully already. She must be curious about my eye also. Naruto thought as he could see the tower's entrance. Naruto Mindscape. Naruto was correct about Kyuubi. She was very curious about his eyes. She knew it was a bloodline, but she didn't know its name or anything. It's like the Sharingan, but it isn't. His eyesight became more defined and his eye reflexes increased. The Kyuubi thought to herself as Naruto made it to the old man's office door. Hokage Tower. Oji-san. Oji-san. Ojii-san. Naruto yelled as he barged through the door. The Hokage sighed as he looked at the young blonde. Naruto-kun, what is it? I am very boozy. The Hokage stood mid-sentence as he saw the blonde. Oji-san. What happened to my eyes? The Hokage just stared at his eyes and said one word quietly to himself, Hyushugan. The Hokage was in a daze. In front of him now was a young blonde boy, a boy no older than 6, held one of the most powerful bloodlines of Konoha. The very same bloodline which belonged to a similar blonde 6 years ago. The usual pure blue orbs now seen as a darker blue which now held a smaller pupil than normal, a almost transparent white ring, slightly larger than the pupil, circled each eye's pupil. Finally, a single white triangle is also seen in place with the mid part of the triangle laid as it pointed towards the pupil. My Kami, he has already awakened his bloodline. I guess it's time for him to meet his parents. The Hokage thought as he was snapped back into attention by the chibi blonde ranting in front of him. Naruto had been calling the old man multiple times as he continued to be ignored. Oji-san. Answer me. What the hell is up with my eyes? Everything is a little more clear and also a little more slowed down. The Hokage came back from his daze. Naruto-kun. When did you awaken your bloodline? The said blonde suddenly had a wide smile of his face. Yada. I do have a bloodline. That is so cool. Naoji-san, what does it do? How does it work? Can I now use super cool jutsus like you? Many questions seemed to flow out the young boy's mouth. Hold on, Naruto-kun. Don't you feel kind of tired or anything? The Hokage asked. No, I don't. But what does that have to do with my bloodline? Naruto replied back. The Hokage took a drag of his pipe as he thought to himself once again. Sounds right, with the fox in him and all. I already know he has a little more chakra for his age. The Hokage thought as he finally began to speak. Naruto-kun, tell me, how did you unlock your bloodline? Naruto simply nodded as he explained everything that happened at the park. 5 minutes later, Naruto had finished explaining the scene that occurred earlier. And now here I am, Oji-san. Naruto finished with his bloodline still going. The Hokage took another drag of his pipe as he sighed. Naruto-kun, that was very dangerous. Naruto looked down with a hint of sadness, but you showed courage and protected to girls, and for that I am very proud of you. Sarutobi finished up as Naruto's frown disappeared and came his true smile. Sarutobi stood up and walked towards a shelf of scrolls. He carefully pushed a couple out of the way as he pulled out 2 dusty scrolls. Each of them was labeled with a name, Uzumaki Naruto. The Hokage walked towards Naruto with the 2 dusty scroll in his hands. He held one of the scrolls towards Naruto. Naruto looked at the scroll with interest as he saw his name, Nani. Is this scroll for me? Sarutobi smiled. Yes, Naruto-kun. This scroll was meant for you to read as soon as you unlocked your bloodline. Naruto nodded and took the scroll. Naruto held the scroll in his hands as he tried to pull it open. Sadly, he failed as continued to struggle with his newfound nemesis. Damn it. Why won't it open, Oji-san? Naruto began to pound the scroll onto the ground. Naruto-kun, calm down so I can explain what to do next. Naruto huffed and stood patiently as he awaited for instructions. Good. Now hold out the scroll. He did just that as the Hokage rotated the scroll until it showed a kanji symbol, seal. Naruto-kun, this is a special seal which protects the contents of this scroll. To unlock the seal, you must spread blood over the kanji, but only one type of blood will unlock this seal. Naruto looked at the Hokage with interest as he wanted to open the scroll. So all I need to do is spread some blood over the kanji seal, nay. Hi, Naruto-kun. The Hokage walked over towards his desk and opened a small drawer and pulled out a kunai. Here, Naruto-kun, use this. He handed the sharp object to the blonde. Naruto took the kunai in his hand and cut his left thumb. A small amount of blood flowed out as Naruto smeared the crimson liquid across the seal. Both males watched as the kanji slightly glowed through the blood. Suddenly the light died down. The scroll in Naruto's hand seemed to loosen. Naruto was now fully engrossed with the opening scroll. He unrolled it. Even the Kyuubi was very curious about the contents. If she was right, the scroll would answer her questions about this bloodline. Finally, the scroll was fully opened as it revealed a simple letter, a letter directed to Naruto. Naruto looked at the letter and began to read it. Dear Naruto, hello son. I don't have much time to write this letter, so I will try to brief everything. This letter is supposed to have been given to you when you have unlocked our Kekkei Genkei, the Kyushogun. I have prepared a scroll with a full description about the Kyushogun and all other special techniques our family has created. I guess by this time you should know about your secret. I want you to know I have a very good reason for sealing the Kyuubi in you. If you were in my place and I was in yours, what would you do when your only choice of victory was to use a sealing jutsu which requires the user's life? Also, when used, the object which was sealed is needed to be placed in an infant. You may wonder why I chose you, but who else was I going to turn to? Just go up and ask a random family to give up their baby. Like hell I would do that. I chose you because you are my son and I know I can trust you with this power, and also you were the only baby that was available in such short notice. I want to apologize for doing this to you. I'm sorry, son. As I pass on, I want you to know that you did have a mother and father. Your mother was an incredibly strong Anbu. The Hokage should have a picture of Rei-chan for you. Time is running short as it is time for me to move into the battlefield with your mother. Goodbye, my son. Be strong, as I fear the villagers may not accept the fact you are the container, not the demon itself. And don't tell anyone who your parents are until you are Junin. I have made many enemies, as did your mother, and if this secret gets out you will be in for a hell of a lot of danger. Your father. The Yondaime. Kazama Arashi. Naruto had just finished reading the letter as his eyes were wide from shock. He had always wanted a family. Every day he would see families walking around and spending time with each other. Every single time he saw that, he felt a sudden empty feeling in him. He wanted that kind of attention. He wanted the love. He wanted a family. But finally, as he rolled up the scroll and looked at the Hokage, he found out that he did have a family. He did have a father and mother to begin with. Oji-san to him was like his grandpa. As he finished rolling up the scroll, he took a deep breath and looked at the Hokage. My dad's the Yondaime. Naruto yelled out, but luckily while he was reading the scroll, the Hokage placed some mute seals around the room, as he knew what might have happened after he found out his family. Oji-san. Is this letter real? Asked Naruto with hope that it was. The Hokage smiled back at Naruto. Hi, it is real. The young blonde was now jumping with joy and screaming with a smile that warmed any heart. The Hokage also smiled as a tear fell from his cheek as he thought, I have never seen Naruto-kun so happy. Can't blame him though. After all he has been through, he most certainly deserves happiness. The Hokage was brought out of his thoughts as he remembered about the second scroll. Ahem. The Hokage cleared his throat in order to get the hyper blonde's attention. Naruto, on the other hand, was busy celebrating. He also was thinking, I did have a family. I did have a father and mother, and they both are strong. I heard about my mother's name. She was said to be the second strongest kunoichi in Leaf, next to the slug Sennin. Tsunade, and my father was the greatest of all ninjas, the Yondaime himself. I want to tell Kyuubi Hime about the news, even though she may heard already. Naruto stopped as he heard the old man yell his name, Naruto-kun. The blonde stopped and answered back while flashing an embarrassed foxy grin. Nay, Gomen Nasai Oji-san. I guess I am just so happy about finding who were my parents. The Hokage smiled at his answer. That all right, but I think you should open the other scroll. The Hokage handed the scroll to Naruto. Naruto-kun, this is your father's will. This will explain about the things he has left and any comments. Naruto looked at the scroll and saw another blood seal holding the scroll closed. He repeated his actions earlier with the scroll before. As the scroll unlocked and Naruto unrolled it, Naruto began to read the scroll. Dear Naruto, my son, looks like I have passed on. I have written this, will, before I have written my letter to you. I surely hope you have read that scroll first. Anyway, I would like to let you know about what you will inherit. You are now the sole survivor and heir to the Kazama clan. Now listen, don't go spreading around this or you will be in some deep cow shit. Naruto, as the heir of the Kazama clan, I will tell a little about the Kazama clan. We are fucking rich. That's right, we are as wealthy as the Uchihas and the Hyugas, but don't go telling that to everyone you see, cause that would raise some suspicion on how a orphan got so much Ryu. Still, it's kinda cool knowing that you are one of the richest clan members out there. Although you can't inherit it until you're 17. Just like the Ryu, you will inherit the Kazama estate at the age of 17. We may be as rich as the other major clans, we Kazamas prefer to live in a little smaller manner, unlike the Uchiha, mini village, or Hyuga town. Those are my own nicknames for their homes. They're huge. Thus, unknowing to the other clans makes us richer than them, but don't tell them that. Finally, I have a favor to ask of one of my students. If you are my son, you will probably unlock your Kekkei Genkei protecting someone. When that happens, show this will to a man named Hatake Kakashi. He will train you to use your dujutsu and being a ninja. Both of you will leave the village until seen fit to return. Plus, find a katana. Every Kazama had a katana. Now for the good part. Since you are the last of the great Kazama clan, you will have to practice polygamy because the Kazama clan is a great part of the Leaf's strength. You lucky fox, but let's keep that between the old man, Kakashi, my sensei Jiraiya, and you for now. Life your life to the fullest, my son. Kazama Arashi. P.S. Don't forget about the family scroll located in your soon-to-be estate. Also, the old man has some money I left for you when you read this will. After reading the will, Naruto was feeling even more happy. He found out he was part of a powerful hidden clan. He was going to be rich at 17 with an estate, and now he will get special training from the nice Anbu Hatake Kakashi. He smiled at the Hokage, who in which smiled back. Oi, Oji-san, what's PP ploiga palga p page? Polygamy, that's it. Naruto asked as he struggles to say his desired word. The Hokage looked at the boy strangely as he answered with another question, why do you ask? Naruto scratched his head as he answered, well, on this paper my father said I will have to practice polygamy since my clan's strength will greatly benefit for Konoha, was that. The Hokage did not know what to say to a 6-year-old about marrying multiple women. Ah, I'll tell you when you get older. Naruto raised an eyebrow but quickly dismissed it as he had more important things to talk with the Hokage. Oji-san, here. Naruto handed Shifather's will over to the Hokage. It looks like you will be gone for a while, doesn't it? But are you okay with it? The Hokage asked, even though he probably knew the answer. Hi Oji-san, I will become super strong and take over your job in no time. Naruto gave a victory sign as he finished. At that moment Naruto's eyes have finally turned back to his normal pure blue orbs. Naruto-kun, your eyes have returned back to normal. Naruto turned to a continentally placed mirror to check his eyes. Wow, you're right. But how do I use it again? That's why you're going to ask Kakashi when he gets back from his mission to train you. Sarutobi answered. Naruto nodded as he began to leave until he remembered about his mother. Anyo, do you have a picture of my mother, Oji-san? The Hokage turned and went to his desk. He opened a drawer and pulled out the famous orange book, which he opened. Naruto was about to yell at the old man for being a hentai until he saw what he brought out from between 2 pages of the book. Here, Naruto-kun. Naruto looked at the Hokage and grabbed the picture. He studied the picture. The picture showed a beautiful woman standing in a field smiling. His long brown hair flowed all the way down to her waist in a braided ponytail, just like Aerith of Final Fantasy VII. Her dark chocolate-colored eyes complemented her face, which had a very cute smile. She wore a dark blue kimono with a light sky blue sash around her waist. This woman, this beautiful woman, was a kunoichi, one of the strongest no less. Naruto admired the picture as he had a couple of her traits, her nose, her smile, and what looked like he had a mix of both his mother's and father's blue eyes. As he continued to stare at his mom, something clicked in his mind. Oji-san was using my Ka-san's picture as a bookmarker. Even worse, the book was that hentai book. Naruto screamed in his mind, causing Kyuubi to giggle a little but still kind of feeling weird. Wouldn't you feel weird to find an old man using your mom's picture as a bookmarker for a hentai book? Oji-san, why are you using my Ka-san's picture as bookmarker for that orange crap? Naruto yelled, feeling pissed at the old man. Naruto-kun, it was your father's idea. He also read this novel, and in his estate he told me he has every volume from 1 to 24. I don't know how many volumes there are. Naruto was surprised. He just found out his father, the greatest ninja, the Yondaime, was a pervert. That still didn't explain why. The Hokage forced a smile. Naruto decided to drop the subject. Oji-san, will you show me to my estate tomorrow so I can get my clan's scroll? Sighing in relief, the Hokage accepted. Hi, now that is all for now. I need to get back to my paperwork. Naruto left as he muttered something that sounded like arrow cage. Konoha streets. As Naruto began to walk him, he started to think about what happened to Ino and the pink-haired girl. He was worried about the two. He decided to wait till tomorrow to find out since it was starting to get dark. Naruto had gotten home and went straight to bed. As he went straight to bed,